I'd like to talk today about a somewhat unexpected topic. Suddenly, after turning 50, not wanting to socialize anymore. Is that necessarily a bad thing? Let me begin by tossing out a conclusion. It is not a bad thing. On the contrary, it may well be something to rejoice over. When we were younger, we were always encouraged to make more friends, to cast a wide net. Your network is your net worth, people would say. We were told that if you don't throw yourself into crowds, you're antisocial, you don't fit in, you're wasting your life. But now that you're 50, when crow's feet begin to appear in the corners of your eyes, when life has shown you how complicated people's hearts can be, when you've felt the exhaustion of forced gatherings, suddenly you no longer want to force yourself to join social events just to fit in. This is not retreat. It is clarity. It is not antisocial. It is rather a kind of self-rescue. So let's peel back the layers and examine why, after 50, doing less socializing might actually be one of life's best additions. Because being overly social can steal from you your remaining years' calm and ease. Are you being held hostage by social obligations? Let me ask you something. Have you ever had this experience? You plan to stay home over the weekend, perhaps nap a little, read a book, do something quiet and restful, and then a friend insists you join a dinner or gathering. You don't really want to talk about neighborhood gossip, old coworkers, or someone's latest health issue, but you plaster on a smile and force your way through the conversation. Maybe your body aches, but you still drink a few glasses to save face. Over time, haven't we turned socializing into a chore? Before 50, we feared being isolated, feared gossip, feared being left out, or didn't want to appear ungrateful to the people we might one day need. But have you ever actually added up how many hours of your life have been spent in unproductive social events? Those hours could have been spent having extra meals with aging parents, learning a craft you've long wanted to try, or quietly talking from the heart with your spouse or a life partner. The philosopher Zeno once said, "A spring friendship is like blossoming water. A summer friendship is sweet and floating." The point being, friendships that require you to constantly try, to flatter, to expend energy, are seldom true friendships. The gatherings that choke you, the moments you just want to get out of, those were never healthy settings in the first place. The Tao of choosing your circle, a modern parable. Let me offer a Western analogy rather than Chinese antiquity. Think of someone like Henry David Thoreau, who lived by Walden Pond. He chose to scale back on social obligations and focus on inner life. He wasn't running from people, he was returning to the core of life itself. Similarly, consider Eleanor Roosevelt in her later years. She didn't waste energy enduring shallow circles. She chose to mentor, to write, to focus on causes she truly believed in, rather than forcing herself into every social club or committee. She knew her time and energy were limited and used them wisely. At 50, your body begins sending quiet alarms. When you stay up late for some event, you may have handled it with ease in your 30s. But now, even spending an afternoon socializing might leave you drained, in need of hours of rest afterward. You misplace names, forget details, not because you're too old, but because your reserves are telling you, conserve your energy. Life's journey is like a glass of water. In youth, the glass is full, and you can pour freely. After 50, the glass is half empty. Every drop counts. Yet many people still foolishly pour that precious water into meaningless conversations, into relationships that cost more than they give back. In his essays, Michel de Montaigne wrote that our greatest and most glorious pursuit is the pleasure of life. What is that pleasure? It is not living to please others or being the most popular person in the room. It is living in a way that is comfortable, genuine, and true to yourself. Redefine your life, again at 50. At this stage, you realize that not wanting to socialize doesn't mean laziness or arrogance. It means responsibility to your body, your heart, your remaining years. You no longer need to pretend enthusiasm or bury your fatigue for others' sake. Your experiences and years exist to nourish your soul, not to deplete it. Picture yourself as a great oak tree. In youth, your branches stretch everywhere, offering shade to anyone. In autumn, leaves fall not because you're weak, but because you're gathering nutrients inward to be ready for the next spring. As 50-somethings, We too should reclaim the energy we once scattered across countless social commitments and reserve it for our bodies, our peace, and the people who truly matter. Solitude is not loneliness. That's a common misunderstanding. Loneliness is having people all around you yet feeling you cannot share your truth with any of them. Solitude, chosen, calm, self-companionable, is a luxury we rarely afford in youth. At 50 plus, you have earned the right to just sit, sip your tea, read your book, and rest in the quiet satisfaction of being yourself. Several centuries ago, Emily Dickinson withdrew from society. People said she was reclusive, but in her seclusion, she cultivated depth, poetry, introspection. Her world shrank outwardly, but expanded inwardly. That is not cowardice, but lucidity. You are finally free to be you. When you were younger, you were constantly playing roles: the capable colleague, the enthusiastic friend, the dutiful child, the successful adult. Sometimes we forget to play the role of ourselves. After 50, when you no longer need external validation, when socializing is no longer the metric of self-worth, you finally get to listen to your own voice. What do you truly like? What do you loathe? What kind of life have you always wanted? Consider someone like poet Elizabeth Bishop in late life, quiet, measured, distant from the social whirl, but deeply alive through her language and reflection. She didn't chase gatherings, she cherished her internal space. Solitude at this age becomes the most lavish gift you can give yourself. You no longer need to synchronize your schedule with others. You no longer need to adapt to other people's topics. You can freely express your moods. You can wake when your body desires. You can sip tea in the afternoon instead of forcing a dinner. You can watch an old film you love instead of tolerating one you don't. That kind of freedom, calm, unhurried, self-centric, is something no youthful gathering can give you. Don't fear solitude thinking you'll be lonely. True loneliness is forgetting who you are. Solitude is the moment you reclaim yourself. Choosing not to socialize after 50 is actually offering yourself a second chance, the chance to return to your own essence. It may not have come early, but it's never too late. Social subtraction is about filtering out the guests and keeping the family. It's about cutting out the energy drainers and holding on to those who nourish you. You might worry, if I stop socializing, won't my circle shrink? But here's the truth. Quantity was never the real value, quality is. Before 50, many of our so-called friends were just dinner companions who vanish when the plates are cleared. They only call when they need something. Trying to keep them is futile. No matter how many events you attend, no matter how many people you know, without sincerity, there is no real friendship. As poet Rumi, albeit from a different culture, said, "The friend who always stays is the one who accepts you when you need silence rather than speech." Real friendship isn't about constant proximity. It's the bond that exists even in long absences. It's when you're down, and they stay beside you. It's when you don't want to attend any event, and they understand, because they know you. The gift of less, the rebirth of self. Turning 50 brings you to a new frontier. You've lived half the journey. You've tasted success and failure, love and loss, gain and disappointment. Now is the time to understand what life actually means. Not living for others' applause, but living for oneself. Not judged by how others see you, but judged by how you see yourself. In younger years, you lived by others' standards. You should, you ought to, you must socialize, you should be popular. But after 50, you finally can say no to those expectations. You may quote Nietzsche with a Western twist: life warrants a bit of boldness because in the end, we will lose it anyway. The closer we move to life's later chapters, the less time for the world's judgments, the more time for ourselves. Better to spend your last decades doing what you love than chasing appearances. Better to be aligned with your own spirit than to be stretched thin among so many. Better to be comfortable than to be seen by others. Better to accept solitude than to drown in meaningless noise. So no, not wanting to socialize after 50 is not giving up on life. It's a restart. You no longer live for others. You live for yourself. You no longer force yourself into crowds. You quietly choose your own company. That calm, centered, self-aligned way of living is the most precious gift of this stage. Life ahead is not infinite. Do not waste it forcing yourself. Instead, say with confidence, I don't want to attend that gathering. Sit quietly at home without guilt. Reserve your time for people and things you truly care about. Your life, your remaining chapters, should be led by you. Let me leave you with one thought, adapted from one I once read. We've longed for dramatic waves in our destiny. But the most beautiful scenery in the end is the calm steadiness of inner peace and composure. After 50, may we all attain that calm, that composure. May we no longer feel compelled to socialize or fit in. May we simply live as ourselves, day by day, in quiet comfort, through whatever years remain. Thank you for listening. I wish each of you joy, peace, and a deeply satisfying life ahead.